What is up? Welcome back. 2024-25 NBA season previews. My name is Matt Hanifan, and I'm here with Jiarmani DePena. Today we're going to be doing the Utah Jazz. The 31-win Utah Jazz coached under Will Hardy. They were 12th in the Western Conference last year. But before we jump into the nuts and bolts of things, Jiarmani, man, how you doing?
I'm trying not to drop my food off my desk, so excuse me if you see my facial expressions. But we're talking. I like Utah as a team. I'm doing good, and I think Utah fans will probably be like I feel are doing way better than me going into the season. But
are you sure?
Maybe, but I'll get into my reasoning as we get going. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm sorry, but no, but yeah, I'm doing good, Matt. I hope you're doing all right. But yeah, let's talk about Utah.
So the Utah Jazz, again, 31-51 last year. They were 12th in the Western Conference. They have a good young core, I would say, like Simone Fontecchio, Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, top 10 pick last year. Walker Kessler was a guy who had a disappointing second season after finishing third in the Rookie of the Year voting the year before that. I don't want to say he's young, but Lauri Markkanen this offseason did sign a 5-year max extension. He won't be eligible to be traded this next year because of when he signed the extension. He signed it on August 7th I think the day after he was eligible to sign it. And so they progressed with that. But they have a solid young core. They also have some veterans like Jordan Clarkson. Where do you see this team, or like what would you think of them last season? I know, again, they were one of the worst teams in the Western Conference. They get off to a quick start, I feel like, every year, but then they fizzle out at some point. I guess, where did you see this team last year, or what did you think of them last year and then heading into this offseason?
Yeah, I would say they petered off, like, compared to where they were at last year. Like, obviously, last year, Lauri, he had kind of his breakout season, and he kind of became that player a lot of people were assuming him to be. He averaged, like, 25 points a game, and he was helping, like, Utah, like, kind of stay out of obscurity. I don't know how they played. I don't know how well the team played overall a couple years ago, not last year. But I think in all seriousness, I know for them, they brought in John Collins last year, and, he had himself an all right season. I mean, he stayed healthy, played in like around 70 games. I thought he was going to have a bigger impact on Utah, to be completely honest. And I was somebody who was invested in Walker Kessler. Like, I had him on my fantasy team, and I thought he was going to take a big leap. But, it just didn't really work out for him. Obviously, last year he averaged pretty much 8 and 8, but still tremendous shot blocker, and like they still got that going for him. And I feel for Utah, like they have a lot of names, like you said, like they have that young core, and then like some of the vets on that squad, like Jordan Clarkson, like you mentioned earlier. I think they have like a group that can, be better. I think if Walker Kessler kind of like, improves on pretty much he just takes that leap that I'm still waiting for. Like, again, he's only going into his third season, so it's not a big deal. But it seems like these guys are fully invested into like this young group that they have, especially signing Lauri to that extension. And in all seriousness, like I really thought he was going to get traded to Golden State. And I think Golden State were kind of more like, I'm pretty sure a lot of fans will probably said they probably should have went through with that. Obviously Golden State fans, but no, but yeah, with Utah, I feel like they have like some pieces that can make this team real interesting. But again, like the West is the West. So I feel there's still a lot of question marks around this team. And also Lauri, I know I'm pretty sure a lot of people won't make this, or maybe it has been like a big narrative for him, but like he's still yet to play over 70 games in a season. So I guess like the health can be a bit concerning. But other than that, like I like some of the pieces they have on their team, but I think it's just a matter of like how much of improvement are they going to have going into the year. I think that's the big question for me. And can Lauri kind of take even more of a leap, if that's even the question. But I think I'm more looking at other guys like Walker Kessler more specifically to improve if this team wants to kind of progress moving forward.
Well, it's that, like Colin Sexton was another guy who I think could be on the trade block this next year. I think he had a very good season last year. Uh, Jordan Clarkson is another one where I'm looking at like I think I don't want to say he's going to take a jump, but like he's another guy to where like if I don't think this team doesn't want to get to 25, 30 wins, but he could definitely be an attractive trade piece of the deadline. He's entering his age 32 season. He's one of the best knockdown shooters in the league, whether he's coming off the bench or not. But other than that, like this team's really young. Like they did sign Patty Mills this offseason, the very 36-year-old Patty Mills who's bounced around the league a little bit. He was with Miami and Atlanta last year. Um, Other than that, this team's very young. Like you go on down the list, like again, Colin Sexton's entering his age 26 season. That's not super. That's not really that old, but it's not really that young. They drafted Taylor Hendricks last year. He's entering his age 21 season. Like Cody Williams was a top. I want to say he was a top 10 pick for them this last year. I can't remember exactly where they were at in the lottery, but I want to say he was another top 10 pick that they had. They drafted Isaiah Collier, who was a former top recruit out of high school. He played one season at USC. They drafted Kyle Filipowski in the second round. We're not going to go into why he fell to the second round, but they did draft Kyle Filipowski in the second round. Johnny Juzang's entering his age 23 season. Svi Mikhailuk he's entering his age 27 season. Keontae George is obviously still very young. Drew Eubanks isn't particularly young. He's one of the older guys on the team, but he's going to be entering his age 28 season. Like this is a really young team, and I think like they are again in a situation this upcoming year where they have a top 8 protected pick. They have a couple first round picks that I believe that, or at least late first round picks. I think one of them was the Minnesota one. I'm trying to remember what the other one is off the top of my head, but like this team could have three picks this upcoming year. In the first round and in a stacked draft where obviously Cooper Flagg is taking headlines, but even then, like I wonder if they'll have enough capital or players to potentially move up to get like a VJ Edgecombe or something like that. If they don't, because I don't think the team that gets the number 1 pick is going to trade the number 1 pick unless it's for like a stupid haul of players, draft capital, whatever. But this team is in an interesting spot because again, like they are still rebuilding, even though Lauri Markkanen did sign this big sizable extension. They still are trying to tap into their young core of Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, Walker Kessler. A few of these other guys on this roster, again, some of the guys that I mentioned with Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson, they still do have some tradable pieces. But I'm just interested to see like how Will Hardy, again, is able to coach this team up and develop some of these guys. And because I think Will Hardy is one of the better, for lack of a better word, like schematic masterminds in the league. Like he knows how to put his guys in position to succeed, but obviously there's just isn't much talent there. There's some talent, but there isn't enough talent to where you're going to win 35, 40, 45 games in a given season. And where they're at in the draft, like this team has finished I think they 9-10 the last 2 years in the draft. And so like obviously they're not good enough to be a playoff team, but they're also not good enough to be a top 5 pick. At least obviously the lottery aside, like they haven't been completely bottom of the barrel, but I do think we see a slight shift in that this year. Like I don't think this team is going to be at 9th, or I don't think this team is going to be try to get the 9th pick. Obviously they can't because they're top 8 protected, but like I think this team will try to be probably one of the worst teams in the entire league, but while still trying to develop some of these other guys. It's kind of a weird position, not weird position, but interesting position that they're.
Yeah, I will ask you this: out of like the guys you mentioned, like guys like Keontae George and Walker Kessler and some of these other young guys in this group, I'm kind of curious to see like your take on like who do you think out of these guys will take like the biggest leap going into the season? Because I was looking at the projections for like George, for example, and it looks like he's gonna like it says he's gonna average around 18 a game and whatnot. I think that might just be per 36 minutes, but seemingly it seems like even off the bench in his rookie year, like obviously he started 44 games, but 13-4 and 3 being rebounds, like that's a good starting point for any like 6'4" guard in the NBA. So like I could see those to be pretty feasible, but I'm just curious on like your thoughts of like who could be like a breakout candidate out of these young guys that Utah has.
I mean, like non-rookies.
I mean, I guess you can even include rookies too, or just like anybody kind of be like that's the person I'm keeping my eye on that team.
I mean, it would probably. That's a tough question. I'd also probably say it was Keontae, just because I think they're going to trade either one of Sexton or Clarkson. And so I think there's going to be more room for opportunity, once. I mean, I know that it's an if, obviously, and that won't come until February. So that's not like over halfway through the season, but I do think he'll take a leap somewhat in that department. Just like from an opportunity standpoint. In terms of, I mean, I think Walker Kessler, like obviously there's been the trade rumors surrounding him for probably like the last year or so. And I know a team's going to be wanting to there's going to be some teams like New Orleans who wants to acquire a center come the trade deadline or has motives of acquiring a center come the trade deadline. And so I think he would be one where, he's going to be extension eligible this next offseason. Like he wants to build up his value. And so even if he's not starting, I still do think like there is this potential leap, I guess. I don't want to say it's a big leap, but like leap, I guess, in terms of opportunity, potentially in terms of production. He's one of the best shot blocking bigs, at least amongst young centers in the entire league. Like when you average 2.5 blocks a game in a limited sample size as a rookie, like you're doing something right. And he was of course, for many who don't know, he was acquired in the Gobert trade, which is just very funny in retrospect because it was like him and 20,000 other picks for him. But I would say those two guys, just off the top of me, I think Collier can be fine. I think it'll take a little bit of time with him. Same thing with Cody Williams, who I think is a little bit more raw than those other guys that I just mentioned. But just off the top, I think it's those two. Taylor Hendricks could be another one too, but those two guys right now, I see as the two guys that are Keontae and Kessler, even though those are probably the two best guys amongst the guys that I just mentioned. But I think just from a potential opportunity standpoint, a contractual standpoint, I think it could be them.
Okay. I mean, yeah, like you got like it seems like the way that team is built, at least right now, with like the guys they have, like somebody's got to break through, whether it's one of them or if not both. But no, but yeah. So like I feel like for them, they kind of just hope to see what they have because I feel like they're still a couple years off. You kind of have someone in Laurie like in a year from now, who knows? They may just look to ship him out again, but at least this time he's under a 4-year deal at this point. So I guess like this year will be pretty telling, and then like next offseason will kind of be like I guess they'll probably decide where they want to go. But at least right now they have like their star locked down. So are you going to try to build around them? At least that's what it looks like with the contract, but and like with the young group of guys. But again, it's going to be real interesting to see Utah like over this next year or so.
Where do you project them in the West?
I mean, the last couple of years they finished 12th, even though it seems like at least from the start it seemed like I was a little bit higher on them. But I could probably see them being around the same, like unless like you have like big leaps from like the guys we mentioned. I guess like I can see them like be like around the play-in picture, but probably just miss out of it depending on how like the team looks after the trade deadline. Because yeah, like you said, there's a couple of guys there that can be trade candidates. And I think at least from their perspective, it would probably be a better thing. Like if they're competitive, like obviously I don't think they want, unless they feel like they have a great shot to make the playoffs, then I don't think they're going to want to fiddle around. They would probably want to keep their pick and get within like that. You said it was top 8.
I believe so. Yeah. Or top 10. I think it's top here. Let me look at it.
In any case, like if they feel like they're not going to, in any case, if they feel like they're not going to be like have like a great shot to like even make the play-in or anything like that, how much they value that, I think they would probably prioritize at some point in the season just trying to be within that top 10 range just to keep their pick.
Oh, it's top 10. Never mind. Not top 8, top 10.
Gotcha.
Regardless, I still think this team's going to be like a 14 seed. I don't see a path for them to make a play-in unless, barring something unforeseen. I think they're probably going to be around 25-ish wins. 20, 25 wins. Again, I don't know if it gets to March and they're, around that mark. I don't know if they play. I don't know if Lowry finishes the season. Like they just be like, you know what, we don't need you right now.
Shut him down.
Yeah, shut him down. Like if he
Okay.
gets nicked up or something happens, I don't know. But right now I do think they're a top 5 pick potentially next year's draft. Again, I just think like when you get a guy like Cooper Flagg in the conversation, like I think there's going to be so many teams that are going to be tanking for him, and I do think Utah will be one of those teams, whether they're successful or not.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I see him at. Any final comments before we get out of here?
I would say Utah fans, you can rejoice that your star player is sticking around for a few more years, at least on paper. I would say if they do manage to get Cooper Flagg in the draft next year, that would make for a really intriguing dynamic between him and Markkanen and the rest of those guys. So I think Utah can benefit a lot from getting somebody like him.
Me too. I think so too. That's gonna do it, man. My name is Matt. This is Jiarmani. Please go check out all of our Vendetta Sports Media NBA season previews on our website, vendettasportsmedia.com. In addition to all of our video previews on the YouTube channel at Vendetta Media, which you can see on the banner across your screen. Please go check out Vendetta Sports Media for all of our additional content, whether it's MLB, NFL, college football, NHL, UFC, all that good jazz. In addition to all of our other YouTube content, please go check all of us out. Please like and subscribe. My name is Matt. This is Jiarmani. Thank y'all for watching. See y'all next time.